Hey, and welcome to another Tech Tuesday. This is Chad from Ascension Worship, and this week we're going to show you how you can make one digital mixer act like two digital mixers using, you got it, double patching.
Hey, what do you say? Yes, it's that time again. It's Tech Tuesday.
So if you haven't watched any of the double patching videos, you should probably go ahead and do that now. But the concept is pretty simple at its heart. The idea is that you can take one input, say a microphone, and spread it across multiple channels. So in our first video, we talked about if you had one microphone that for one moment needed to be sung with a little girl with a very high, thin voice, and then she's going to hand the microphone off to a full-grown man with a louder, deeper voice. Without using scenes or snippets or anything like that, you could go through and have one fader with settings for her and another fader with settings for him. Well, this week what I'm going to show you is a real quick example of how you can do that if you have a console with a ton of channels and more channels and inputs. If you want to have let's say a bass guitar be on one channel that's going to be used for front of house, and then on another part of the console be on a different channel that is used for their in-ears for on stage. So let's take a look at that, and I'll show you exactly what that means. All right, guys, real quick video for you today. We're looking at the Yamaha CL5 editing app. This will really work for any console as long as you have more channels available than the input channels needed. So we had a touring band come through lately that they didn't need a lot of channels, but they usually have a separate console set up for their in-ears. The church that brought them in didn't have budget for that, but they did have a really awesome, massive front of house console, the Yamaha CL5. So what we did was to give them as flat of an experience in their ears as possible. We double patched a lot of the channels. So you can see on here, I've got bass 1 and 2, guitar. I got 3 guitar channels. I've got keys. I've got a lot of keys lines going on. I wanted to be able to do my own EQ and compression on these channels and not have that negatively affect their ears in case they're used to hearing their keys like in a studio environment where it's flat and it's exactly what's coming out of their keyboard, so on and so forth. So scrolling over here, this is another set of channels going on. Further down on the board, I've double patched a lot of those things. So we've got E-Bass 1, E-Bass 2, the guitars, E-Bass keys, so forth. The E is just an indicator to me that this is strictly for the ears, so that if I'm getting lost in the board, I know that, hey, what I'm doing here is affecting the ears and not front of house. So the only thing that's going to link this E-Bass 1 channel here with the Bass 1 channel over here is the gain, the analog gain, and that is it. So you need to make sure that's right from the start, as always. But after that, I can EQ until my heart's content with bass 1 to make up for room sounds, to make up for trying to make the bass fit with the kick drum and the keys better. I can do all these things to the bass, and then bass 1 over here, E-Bass 1, will be unaffected so that the bass player can hear it just like he did in the other venue he was at last night, so on and so forth. And even if you're not dealing with touring musicians, your own church team from week to week might want to have this on here. So it's just good. Like for me, I'm a particular bass player. I know what my rig should sound like in a studio environment coming into my in-ears, and I like it when I can have it set with no affected EQ or compression. It really helps us with troubleshooting. So if there's something wrong with my system, I can figure out that it's either a bad cable or a bad setting, or if you're with electric guitar, maybe it's a bad mic placement. And the idea is that if you can make a flat EQ sound really good in the ears, in theory, if everything's tuned correctly, that should sound good in your front of house mix as well, so that you're only having to do minimal EQs there, again, to make up for the room or other instruments. Another cool thing you can do with this is it allows you to set up the ears to be post-fade rather than pre-fade. A real quick explanation of why that's useful. Let's say that you're sound checking these keys here. If you were to turn these on, like let's say, we've in a typical system, we're going to run pre-fade on our main channels here. Once you hit that on, it's going to all of a sudden come in full volume to the ears, whatever volume you have it set to, but it's just going to turn on. It's going to go from off to on very subtly or very quickly. To make that more subtle, if we were giving the system, if we were sending signal to the keys ears on a double patch channel that was post fade, then once you turn this on, you fade it in rather than just turning it on and off. And that gives you a moment for the keyboards to realize if, hey, that's way too loud, I need to take my ears out or turn them down or whatever. So maybe the keys player you had last week likes it really loud because he had universal fit ears that weren't isolating all the way, but maybe the guy who's on this week has custom fit ones that are going to be a little bit more loud to them, then this is a good way to make that more subtle getting to their ears. Finally, the things that you don't want to use this on, this is just practically in case you don't have a separate engineer to run this. The things that were going to make your life a little bit easier is if you only use this on bass, guitar, and keyboard. But the things that you don't want to use it on are going to be the things that require more intricate EQ, even for the monitors. So that's going to be things like your drum mics, your vocal mics, your MC microphones for announcements and all that kind of stuff, and your playback devices. Apart from tracks, I mean like video feeds and front of house auxiliary feeds, that kind of thing. That's just going to practically save you on having to double patch every single channel, and then those EQs that you apply for the room are just going to very quickly apply to the musician's ears as well, and it just saves you a little bit of time on those things. But the things that musicians tend to be particular on are the bass, the guitars, and the keys. If you can keep those flat, that's going to help you fix a lot of problems that you might run into and keep your musicians a bit happier. Again, this is Chad from Ascension Worship. I hope this has been helpful for you and your team. Come back here every Tuesday for new information.